Mike Tyson walks into his Los Angeles mansion at 4 a.m. and finds Brad Pitt in bed with his wife, Robin Givens. What happens in the next 30 seconds doesn't involve a single punch, but it reveals something more powerful than any knockout. It shows the moment when the baddest man on the planet chooses control over chaos, and it changes how Brad Pitt sees Mike Tyson forever. Los Angeles, California, 1989. Early morning, 4 a.m. Mike Tyson is at the peak of his power. Undisputed heavyweight champion, 37 wins, 33 knockouts. The most feared fighter on the planet. His opponents quit before the first bell. This is Iron Mike at his absolute prime. But being the most dangerous man in boxing doesn't protect you from heartbreak, doesn't stop your wife from falling out of love. Mike Tyson is learning this the hard way. He's married to Robin Givens, actress, beautiful. Everything Mike thought he wanted. They married in 1988. Big wedding, media coverage, America's power couple. Except it's a disaster from day one. Robin wants Mike's money, his fame. She doesn't want Mike. The damaged kid from Brooklyn who never learned to trust, who gives everything to the few people he lets in, who loves desperately. The marriage is falling apart. Everyone knows it. Robin is done. Has been for months. She's staying for the settlement, for the divorce payout. Mike doesn't fully understand this yet, or doesn't want to believe it, doesn't want to face that he trusted another person who didn't deserve it. It's late March 1989. Mike has been training, staying at a hotel near his gym, preparing for his next fight. It's easier than going home, easier than seeing Robin's face, that look of disgust, like she made a mistake. But tonight, Mike decides to go home. It's 3:30 a.m. Training ended hours ago. He should be sleeping, but his mind won't stop thinking about Robin, about whether he should just end it. He gets in his car, drives to his mansion, the big house he bought to prove he made it, that he's not that scared kid from Brooklyn anymore, the house that mostly just feels empty. Mike pulls into his driveway at 4 a.m. The house is dark. He sits in his car for a moment, dreading another cold conversation with Robin, where every word cuts, where he feels himself getting smaller. Finally, he gets out, uses his key, walks through the darkness, knows every inch of this house, up the stairs, down the hallway, toward the bedroom he shares with his wife, though lately she's been sleeping in other rooms. Mike reaches the bedroom door. Closed. He puts his hand on the doorknob, turns it, opens it, and there they are. Robin, in bed, with someone else, a man, tangled in the sheets. Mike's mind tries to process what he's seeing, trying to understand. This is his house, his bedroom, his bed, his wife, with another man. They hear the door open. Both sit up, fast, startled, guilty. The sheets fall away. The man scrambles to cover himself. Robin grabs the sheet, pulls it up, her eyes wide, caught. No explanation ready, no excuse prepared. Mike stands in the doorway, frozen, his brain struggling to make sense of the scene, of the betrayal, of the reality crashing down around him. Part of him wants to close the door, pretend he didn't see it, walk away. But he can't move, can't look away. The man turns, faces Mike, and Mike recognizes him immediately. Brad Pitt. Not yet times the times Brad Pitt. This is 1989. Brad is early in his career. TV appearances, small movie roles, nothing major yet, but he's getting noticed. Beautiful. That word people use. Square jaw, blue eyes, that smile. Women love him. He's going places. Everyone can see it, and apparently Robin sees it too. Brad Pitt looks at Mike Tyson standing in the doorway. Brad's face goes white, completely white, because Brad might be young. Might be naive about Hollywood politics and what happens when you sleep with someone's wife. But Brad knows exactly who Mike Tyson is. Mike Tyson is the man who knocks people unconscious in seconds, who makes professional fighters cry. And Brad Pitt just got caught in bed with Mike Tyson's wife. The room freezes. Nobody moves. Nobody speaks. Just 3 people in a bedroom at 4 a.m. The heavyweight champion, the actress, the rising star. A moment that feels like it could explode into violence at any second. Mike stands there, looking at them, his face unreadable. Not angry nor sad, just blank, processing. His hands at his sides, relaxed. Which somehow makes the moment more terrifying. Because everyone knows what those hands can do. Everyone knows how fast Mike can move, how much damage he can inflict, how quickly he can end things. Brad scrambles out of bed, grabs his pants, his shirt, trying to get dressed. His hands are shaking. He's trying to put on his jeans while standing, hopping, almost falling. Pure fear. The kind of fear you feel when you realize you made a catastrophic mistake and there's no way to undo it. Brad finally gets his pants on, doesn't bother with his shirt, just holds it, looks at Mike. Mike hasn't moved, still standing in the doorway, still blocking the only exit. Brad has to get past Mike to leave, has to walk right by him, within arm's reach, within punching distance. Brad finally gets his pants on, doesn't bother with his shirt, just holds it, looks at Mike. Mike hasn't moved, still standing in the doorway, still blocking the only exit. Brad has to get past Mike to leave, has to walk right by him, within arm's reach, within punching distance. Brad's voice comes out shaky, high-pitched, desperate. "Dude, don't hit me. Please, don't hit me." That's what Brad says. That's his plea, his defense. "Dude, don't hit me." Mike still doesn't move, just looks at Brad, then at Robin, then back at Brad. The room stays silent except for Brad's heavy breathing, except for the sound of fear. Robin pulls the sheet up, covering herself, not saying anything, not apologizing, just sitting there, watching, waiting to see what Mike does, probably already calculating. How does this play in divorce court? How does this affect the settlement? Mike finding her with another man. That's grounds. That's leverage. Maybe for him, maybe for her. Depends on how it plays out. Mike takes a breath, a deep breath, and when he speaks, his voice is quiet. That high-pitched voice that doesn't match his body. Calm, almost gentle. Mike looks at Brad. "Get out." That's all he says. 2 words. Get out. Brad doesn't need to be told twice. Doesn't try to explain. Doesn't apologize. Just moves. Fast. Walks toward the door. Toward Mike. Has to pass right by him. Brad keeps his eyes down. Doesn't make eye contact. Doesn't want to trigger anything. Just wants to escape. To survive this moment. Brad passes Mike. Their shoulders almost touch. Brad flinches. Expecting something. A grab. A punch. Something. But nothing happens. Mike doesn't move. Doesn't reach out. Doesn't do anything. Just lets Brad pass. Brad speed walks down the hallway. Down the stairs. Toward the front door. Mike can hear him. Hear his footsteps getting faster. Almost running. Hear the front door open. Slam shut. Hear a car start. Tires squealing. Brad Pitt fleeing into the night. Leaving his dignity behind. Leaving with nothing but fear and gratitude that he's still conscious. Mike stands in the bedroom doorway. Robin is still in the bed. Still holding the sheet. Still silent. Mike looks at her for a long moment. And Robin sees something in his eyes she hasn't seen before. Not anger. Not rage. Just sadness. Deep sadness. The look of someone who just had confirmation of something they already knew. That this marriage is over. That it was probably never real to begin with. Mike doesn't yell, doesn't accuse, doesn't demand explanations, just says quietly, "I'll sleep somewhere else tonight." Then he turns and walks away. Down the hallway, down the stairs, out of his own house, into his car, drives back to the hotel, back to the gym, back to the only place that ever made sense to him, the ring, where the rules are clear. Where betrayal doesn't exist. Where everything is honest and brutal and straightforward. The next morning, Robin is gone. Takes her things, moves out, files for divorce shortly after, goes on television, tells everyone what a monster Mike Tyson is, how scared she was, how abusive he was, how she's a victim. plays it perfectly for the cameras, gets her settlement, gets her freedom, gets what she wanted from the beginning. Mike doesn't defend himself publicly, doesn't tell his side, doesn't mention Brad Pitt. Could have destroyed Brad's career before it even started. One interview, one story. I caught Brad Pitt in bed with my wife. That's headline material. That's career-ending scandal in 1989. Brad would be finished, blacklisted, done in Hollywood. But Mike doesn't do it. Doesn't say a word about Brad. Lets the divorce play out. Takes the hits in the media. Lets Robin paint him as the villain. Says nothing. Because despite everything, despite the rage he's famous for, despite the reputation, Mike Tyson understands something about power. Real power isn't about destruction. It's about restraint. It's about choosing not to destroy someone when you easily could. Years pass. Decades pass. Mike's career continues. He loses everything. Goes to prison. Loses his titles. Goes bankrupt. Struggles with addiction. Hits rock bottom. Then slowly, painfully, rebuilds himself. Becomes someone different. Someone wiser. Someone who understands his past mistakes. Who owns them. Who talks about them honestly. In 2013, Mike publishes his autobiography, Undisputed Truth, raw, honest, brutal. He talks about everything, and he mentions the Brad Pitt incident. Not to attack Brad, not to settle scores, just as a fact, a moment that happened, part of the story. Mike writes about coming home, finding Brad with Robin, what Brad said, how terrified Brad looked. But Mike writes it almost gently, almost with humor, like he understands now how scared Brad must have been, how that moment probably haunted Brad for years. Brad Pitt, by then a massive star, reads about it, could respond, could deny it, could get angry, but he doesn't, because Brad knows it's true. Brad was there. Brad remembers. Brad remembers the fear, remembers Mike's face, remembers those two words, get out, remembers how close he came to becoming a cautionary tale. Mike talks about it on his podcast. Someone asks about that night, why he didn't hit Brad. Mike is quiet. Then he says, I wanted to. Every part of me wanted to destroy him. But I thought about what Cus would say. Cus always told me real power is discipline. Real strength is control. Hitting Brad wouldn't change anything. Robin still betrayed me. Destroying Brad's face wouldn't fix my heart, Mike continues. Plus, Brad was just a kid. Scared kid. Probably didn't even know what he was getting into. We all make mistakes for beautiful people. I couldn't destroy someone's life over that. The interviewer asks, do you think Brad knows how lucky he got? Mike laughs. Oh, he knows. You don't forget being that scared. Brad probably still has nightmares. Probably wakes up thinking he's back in that bedroom. Any hard feelings? Mike shakes his head. Nah. Over 30 years ago, he was young and stupid. I was young and angry. Robin was using both of us. Life moved on. We all survived. But then Mike adds, although, if I ever run into Brad at a party, I'm definitely walking up to him. Just to see his face. Just to see if he still flinches. Mike smiles. Not mean, not angry, just mischievous. The smile of someone who knows they hold power over a moment in someone else's life. That's the Brad Pitt incident. Not a fight, not a knockout, not violence, just restraint, just control. Just Mike Tyson choosing not to destroy someone who deserved it. Just the baddest man on the planet, showing that real power is knowing when not to use it. And somewhere, Brad Pitt probably still thinks about that night. Still remembers that doorway. Still remembers Mike's face. Still remembers those two words, get out. Still remembers being more scared than he'd ever been. Still remembers getting a second chance he didn't deserve. Because that's what Mike gave him. Not a beating, not destruction, just two words and a chance to leave, to live, to become Brad Pitt, to never make that mistake again. Who in your life deserves destruction but you chose mercy instead? Who got a second chance from you they'll never forget? Because that's real power. Not the ability to destroy. The choice not to. Mike Tyson understood that at 4 a.m. in a Los Angeles bedroom, when he could have ended Brad Pitt's career and life in seconds, but chose not to, chose to walk away, chose to let Brad run, chose control over chaos. That's the story they don't tell. The fight that never happened, the knockout that never came, the moment when the baddest man on the planet showed he was more than his reputation, more than his rage, more than his fists. He was someone who could choose, and his choice saved a life and career that night. Brad Pitt owes his Hollywood success to many things: talent, looks, charm, hard work, but also to Mike Tyson, to Mike's restraint, to those two words, get out, to the punch that never came, to the mercy Mike showed when mercy wasn't deserved. That's power. That's control. That's what Iron Mike learned long before most fighters do. The scariest thing about being dangerous isn't the damage you can do. It's the damage you choose not to do.